Shalom, family. Good to see everybody here today. I hope you're all doing well. Well, today we are going to talk about the farmers. And so many of them are Trump supporters. And some, despite the fact that they've lost so much money, they still say they are Trump supporters. So when they tell their stories, it is very difficult to feel any kind of compassion for what they're going through because look, if you don't care about yourself, why should somebody else care about you? And number two, even the ones that got voter remorse, really, so what? So what? When it really mattered, you were asphyxiated on voting for Donald Trump. So I think what it is, this windfall of what's happened, especially to white farmers. When they voted for Donald Trump, I think they assumed whatever Donald Trump did would not impact them. And when he popped up with eliminating the USAID, which was a huge contract service for these farmers, they got a lot of contracts that were worldwide. And that was a huge blow when they closed down that agency. So they were not able to send their food all over the globe like they once could. Now, those contracts were never offered to Black farmers. That's why, if you notice, you don't see Black farmers on here complaining about losing anything behind what Donald Trump did because they never had it in the first place. Those contracts were only offered to white farmers. That's why they're the biggest ones on TikTok complaining about losing their farms or losing loads of money. Then they lost a lot of money that they were supposed to get in grants and other contracts through USDA that they're not getting. Grants were used to, kind of pay things off. They're not getting that money. That's why so many of them are saying, I'm going to lose my farm. The funding that was promised to them, they're not getting. There was funding Joe Biden had promised to these farmers, and Joe Biden actually bailed a lot of them out that were in financial trouble. But when Donald Trump came in, he took all that stuff away. And no matter how much they complain, you notice Donald Trump is not throwing a lifeline to these white farmers. And now reality is setting in, and they're realizing that help ain't coming. It's not coming. Mm-mm. So a lot of things they would have made money on, they can't make any money. China is no longer buying soybeans and corn, the things they really heavily depended on. They got billions every single year from China. They made millions of dollars each just from selling their soybeans and corn to China. But China is refusing to buy those things now from the US. They're going to Brazil and other places to purchase that. So they can no longer depend on China when they grow these crops. So, some of them are like, why don't y'all just sell to supermarkets or sell directly to the people, because China is not coming back. And I don't think they can afford to do that. I think the loans and everything that they took out, even if they sold those crops locally, they would not be making a fraction of the money that they would have made if China purchased those crops. So they're in a lose-lose situation right now. And we already know about the South Africans coming over. Those are the farmlands they're getting. The ones that the white farmers are losing. Those are the farmlands they're getting. So, hey, you know, I guess this really is an FAFO moment for them. So, y'all, I'm going to share my screen so you can see some of the videos I was able to get. All right. Okay. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Yeah, these are the ones with the high IQs, y'all. I guess that's pseudo intelligence. That's pseudo intelligence. Okay, let's go.
All right, guys, I didn't really want to have to get on here and do this, but I had to. These are fiberglass stakes right here. These big, bulky stakes on the back of the truck, wooden stakes. I called 2 weeks ago to get a quote on these fiberglass stakes because we need some more stakes this year. I got a quote, 83 cents. I called the man this morning. I said, hey, I know these tariffs are crazy and everything going on. I said, what can you do me on those fiberglass stakes now if we needed a load? It's a 3-month ETA from the time you place the order. He said, Taylor, he said, you don't want to hear this price and I'm about to give you. I said, well, give it to me anyways. He said, each of those steaks now is going to be $1.74 a piece. I said, well, you know, and I know both that we can't do that, and that's going to be impossible. So that's just to let you know a little bit of what we're going through out here on our farm and what farmers in general are going through. These tariffs, not the best thing for our country. I voted for Trump.
I need your help to save my farm and many other farms.
This farmer right here is a Trump voter who just found out that money he put into a program that he was told he was going to get back from the government has disappeared because of Trump's executive orders. He doesn't know when he's going to get the money. And if he doesn't get the money, he will lose his farm, is what he said. And I have a response from a Republican congressman when shown his problem that is absolutely abysmal. All that coming already. First off, look at how excited this man is when he found out that he was approved for a government grant that would provide him the money he needs to invest in his farm. This is what the government is for. This is what the government is for. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are destroying this, but this is what it's about, helping people get ahead.
Hell yeah! $25,000. We got water up here finally, so no more water trailers up here. We're gonna freaking water the cows automatically. We ordered the 13 waters to go across the farm and couldn't be more excited. Luckily, the NRCS is paying a portion of this on cost sharing, so we don't have to pay for the whole thing, but we still have like $10,000 out of pocket on this well, so that really sucks. But we're out here pretty good ways off the road and $25,000 pumping water at the top of the hill. Like I said before, if you guys have any questions on that cost sharing with NRCS, please let me know. I am happy to help. I'm happy to spread the word on it. They're not allowed to advertise it. That's part of the deal. So if you guys have any questions on it, please let me know. They are giving us $240,000 worth of cost sharing on putting 40,000 feet of fence out on our property. We're putting a well in. We're putting 13 waters in. We're doing some seedings out here with some warm season grasses. But if you guys are interested in doing any of this on your place, it's a federal program. You don't have to have it in certain states. You can do it on the state side also, but this one that I'm talking about is federal.
Here in Missouri, we were proud to vote for President Trump, but now we're definitely regretting it. Last year under Biden, we got approved for a $250,000 cost-sharing contract with the Department of Agriculture to improve our water systems on our 300-acre cattle farm. It's beneficial to both parties because we get a break on the cost of labor and construction putting these new pipes in, and the general population gets healthier cattle, healthier beef, etc. So basically, we front all the costs for the labor and construction, and then they reimburse us. But in January and now in this month, Trump's put all these executive orders to freeze all these contracts. So we've already fronted over $100,000 getting these new pipes in, and now we're not going to get reimbursed. If we call and ask, they say they don't know when the funds are going to be there or if they're going to be there at all. I couldn't believe that Trump would do this to us. We've always supported him. But then my friend sent me an article on what he used to do as a real estate mogul in New York, and apparently he didn't pay companies all the time that he did business with. So I don't know if this is ever going to get solved. We can't afford it. I don't know what we're going to do.
But some folks who aren't feeling Trump's optimism right now are American farmers, and they are stuck in the middle of all of this.
Frank, who did you vote for president?
Mr. Trump.
Right?
Trump.
Mr. Trump.
If the election were today, Frank, would you vote for Donald Trump?
No way. Couldn't happen.
No.
You voted for President Trump. So now, in this moment, you say you're in a free fall. What is your message to him?
So I'm off the Trump train. Where I'm going for now is I got to protect my business.
A wheat farmer who says he's lost $400,000 since Trump took office.
I think there was a lot of people who voted for him that want to stay loyal to him, but it's going to get to the point where financially, if it's between supporting the president or losing your family farm.
You voted for the president?
Yes, I did.
And do you support these policies which might be hurting farmers like you?
Right now, we're the ones that are taking the hit.
I think he's sort of backstabbing the main people who got him into office in the Midwest, and he just left us down.
Oh, I'm a soybean farmer that voted for Trump, and I'm begging him to stop this trade war. Oh, look at you. You're so different. You're so strong. You're so brave. See, you're like a 10th generation soybean farmer, and apparently the president of like the American Soybean Farmers Association. You know that last time he was in office, soybean farmers lost $20 billion because of his tariffs, and our tax money had to bail you out. And you fucking voted for him again. And now you're like, oh, I'm begging him, please stop. This was in Project 2025. Hello? So fucking tired of you people. I saw a video of the cheese lady, the cheese slice lady. Saw a video of her like at a store pointing to cheese and saying, haha, see, some of us can laugh at ourselves. Fuck you. Right. Fucking glaring red flags. You ignored all of it. And now you're like, I'm a soybean farmer and I'm begging him, please stop doing exactly what you said you were going to fucking do. Oh, I'm the cheese lady. I'm the cheese lady. See, I can laugh at myself. Obviously, I got tricked, but I can laugh at myself. There are people whose lives have truly, truly been impacted by his fucking whims. Cheese lady, we don't need you to laugh at yourself. We need you to fucking apologize. What, soybean farmer? We need you to say, I am such an asshole. It was crystal clear. He said, I'm going to do this to you. Now I'm like, fucking apologize to the whole country.
Now, fuck that. Fuck that. Joe Biden already bailed you guys out the first fucking time because Donald Trump screwed you over his first term in office. You guys seen what the fuck he did to you, and then you voted him back in again, and you think that we're supposed to have some sympathy points, or you going on CNN crying because he's fucking your shit up again? Really? Get the fuck out of here with that shit. The farmers in motherfucking Nebraska, Wisconsin, all of these states that are being affected, and they're trying to come on social media and the news stations crying now for sympathy points because they fucked themselves over by voting for this orange little bitch. Nah, it's too late for that shit now. Suck it the fuck up and struggle for the next 4 years.
Is this thing on? Yeah, it's time to talk about it. So farmers in America are starting to regret their votes for Trump. So I saw this video that popped up on TikTok, and this lady said that she's worked with farmers for the longest time, like she's a builder or something. And she made the greatest point possible. She said farmers are not dumb by far. She is saying like all of the chemicals to use and not use to grow vegetables and things on the farms, how to feed the animals, the right feed for the animals, everything you need to know to make sure that your farm is running properly and productively. Then she goes on to say that you know how much research it takes to run a farm? And that brings me to my point. They chose not to do their research on Donald Trump, and now they're suffering. They voted against their own best interests, and they voted because they didn't think it was going to affect them. They voted to affect other people. You're going to take this one on the chin, farmers.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently, our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now. We are going to go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported, and he was coming after immigrants, yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
You guys aren't going to believe this shit. I'll make it fast, but stay to the end for the kicker. You remember the last few years when you could not find a single family home, and if you could, you probably couldn't afford it because you had corporate interests like Zillow and BlackRock. They were coming in, heavily investing in the real estate market, wiping the single family homes off the market so the average person could not even buy one. Fast forward to this week, I'm sure you've seen the story of the Missouri farmer, the young guy who was at risk of losing his farm because the grant that he was going to receive to like reimburse him for all these expenses he had been cut. Well, look, they've also cut U.S. aid, which gave farmers millions and millions of dollars because they would buy their crops and then send them overseas or send them, places here in the United States to help people in need, but it also helped the farmers. Well, I found out today that there is a website called Acre Trader. Acre Trader is a company that heavily invests in agricultural land. So you can go invest in these farms that are failing, that somehow they're just starting to fail, and you can just buy them up. Well, guess who heavily funded Acre Trader? JD fucking Vance. Do you think they're out here just destroying these small farms so they can buy them up, all these tech bros? Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, here we are with another fucking run and find out situation. It seems that this is happening a lot with the Donald Trump administration. So I brought you guys a video recently about a farmer who was selling alfalfa, and he was realizing that because of the tariffs, they're going to lose their farm possibly because China is not buying their alfalfa right now. This next farmer who says he's a Trump supporter, currently still a Trump supporter, wants us to know that we need to share his video because it needs to get out there so that Donald Trump knows what he's about to do is going to hurt small family farms. Check this shit out.
I'm a supporter of President Donald Trump, voted for him in this election and the last and the one prior to that. However, President Trump is about to allow JBS, the world's most corrupt beef organization, to become publicly traded in America. President Donald Trump will be the president that allows for the complete destruction of the small, independent family farms and cattle ranches if he allows this to go through.
Newsflash, Donald Trump does not give a damn about you. But you know who gives even less of a damn about you? Myself and all the other liberals you thought you were owning when you voted for Donald Trump. What we got for you is a bunch of middle fingers, man. We're like, fuck you. We don't care. We don't care if you lose your farm, bro. You voted for Donald Trump. You even said at the beginning of this video, I am a supporter of Donald Trump. Why the hell would we give a damn about your gripes? You're getting exactly what you voted for. I love when I see the memes and the conservatives out there saying, screw you liberals. This is exactly what I voted for. This is exactly what you voted for. I don't know why you're making this video. This should be a thank you video because this is what you voted for.
The SEC has already approved it. Now we're just waiting a mere few days for them to allow it on the stock exchange. And what's concerning is we haven't heard a word from the Secretary of Agriculture about this. We haven't heard any of the large cattle organizations that represent cattlemen speak out about this. They claim to represent cattlemen. The truth is they only represent the big guys. They're bought and paid for by the same organizations, JBS, Cargill, Tyson, National Beef, all the collusion that's happening. Go do a very simple search and you'll see the millions and millions and tens upon millions of dollars that these companies have been ordered to pay for collusion and price fixing, which has cost us our family farms and ranches. And what that costs us as the people who aren't family farms and ranches is a stable food system. As much as I'm a supporter of many of the other things that Trump is doing.
And there you have it. He's a supporter of many of the things Donald Trump is doing. And what he's talking about there is the hate and the bigotry. You see, he came
for the bigotry. He came for the deportations. He came for the hate against the gay and trans community. But what he's getting out of it is possibly losing his farm, losing his shit, losing all the things that he worked so hard for. So here's the deal. Understand something. He wants...
Well, my friends, our farmers are in full-blown crisis, and it's not because of Mother Nature. It's because of Donald Trump's reckless tariffs that have torched decades of trade relationships and handed America's agriculture future to China and Brazil on a silver platter. 12,000 tons of pork canceled. Soybean exports collapsed, and family farms are now shutting down. And it doesn't stop there. Longshoremen, truckers, warehouse workers, entire communities are being gutted. This didn't have to happen, but Trump wanted a trade war. He wanted headlines, and now our farmers are paying the price while China laughs its way to the Brazilian soybean fields. And to make it worse, farmers who sign contracts with their own government, they're being stiffed, left holding the bag. So let me be clear. I will fight like hell to rebuild our rural economy, restore fair trade, and make sure American farmers never again become pawns in a MAGA publicity stunt. This district deserves better. America deserves better. Are you ready to fight back? My name is Doug Hune, and I'm a Democrat, congressional candidate in California's 3rd District. Please share this video, follow me, and donate to my congressional campaign. Link is down below and also my profile. Thank you so much for your support.
Doug Fuller's family has been farming in northern Polk County for generations.
Now I get to call all the shots.
He's already nervous about the cash crop he's about to start planting. Soybeans are the target of China's retaliatory tariff, 10% on certain imports from the United States, in response to President Trump's 10% blanket tariff on Chinese goods. Fuller is fearful it spells bad news for the 2025 harvest.
You know, they aren't good for the other countries. They aren't good for me. And who could blame them putting reciprocal tariffs on us? You know, it's just a match, you know, and nobody's going to win.
China is one of the largest overseas markets for American soybeans. According to the USDA, the United States exported nearly $13 billion in soybeans to China last year alone. Fuller has already faced 2 years of bean prices dropping and says it looks as if the trend may continue.
Last year, we took a step back, and now we're taking another step back. So I'm, you know, many of us will, you know, we'll get through it, and it's going to be tough on others.
A little bit of dairy
We
and pistachios.
Yeah. So we milk 1,400 cows, and you know, that's a mid-sized to smaller dairy here in Tulare County now as it is. And then we farm 1,200 acres and do some outside commercial work. We have trees, pistachios, lemons, and tangos.
So Tom is back now with me to talk about tariffs. Tom, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, hello from bright and sunny California. It's really beautiful out here today.
I'm glad to hear that. So, hey, I first want to ask you for your response here, and not too far from where you're at there in Tulare County, the Fresno County Farm Bureau, the CEO, is saying that, look, tariffs could have huge impacts on the bottom line of farmers and ranchers. And they spoke specifically about things like fertilizers, pesticides, and that foreign-made specialty equipment. I know you use some of that specialty equipment in your operation as well. What's your response to that? Are you already seeing changes in your operation?
Well, what we're doing is we're being real conservative in terms of buying anything additional. We can get by with everything we need, but the tariffs, when they come into play, are really going to have some impact. They're going to be substantial increase in prices, so there's some concern. Just keep the belt tight, and we'll see how it goes.
So as you're trying to tighten your belt, though, the president is sort of using some vague language in terms of the tariffs, specifically the carve-outs. How hard does that vague language make it for you to really plan for the future?
Well, in terms of what the president has to say, you know, it creates kind of a knee-jerk reaction on social media because tariffs are extremely complicated. We went from NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, into the USMCA trade agreement. We probably have product going into Canada. So if somebody says there's no tariff on milk going into Canada, they're right. For 3.6% of Canadian production, we can match that at no tariff. But after that, for example, with NAFTA, we had a 240% tariff on fluid milk and 298% on butter. So when somebody says, oh, you've got a 10% increase in tariff, in what level, what degree, what product? There's so many fractions that have different percentages on them. It's just hard to track, and long-term contracts play a lot into it.
They certainly do. And while you're sort of nailing down the specificity of some of these that are important to you, I'm also curious about your thoughts here from the USDA, perhaps hinting that the Trump administration could offer aid funds to farmers that have been impacted. We know that farmers did get money from the past administration, but they sort of continue to make federal spending cuts here. I don't know. What are your thoughts here on perhaps aid coming into the agricultural community? What would that look like, and how would it help?
Well, a lot of times there's opportunities to recoup some of those losses through a program through the USDA. And the fact that the foodstuffs is always the number one bargaining chip, it becomes a challenge, but we never know if we're going to be getting cut, getting additions, or what. With the dairy products, food products, wheat, everything, corn, we feed the world, and we have to survive. So they'll do something to come along if it gets bad enough.
You have faith, it sounds like.
I've been doing this for almost 50 years, and I've seen the ups and I've seen the downs, and at the end of the day, the people that understand what farmers provide are usually there to stand behind us.
Regarding all these farmers that are now crying about possibly losing their farms because they voted for Trump, this is why you absolutely should not feel bad for any of these farmers that voted for Trump. Now, the ones that didn't vote, yes, feel sorry for them, go support them, do whatever you need to do. But the ones that voted for Trump, do not feel sorry for them. And let me tell you why. I am a builder, and I've been building shit in Oklahoma City going on like 20 years now. And farmers are not stupid. If you have the ability to manage a farm and understand the weather, the climate, your machinery, the chemistry that goes into your crops, you are not a stupid person. You're just not. And especially when you come from generational farming, you have the ability to look ahead and predict what you need to survive. And so when you have two candidates where you have Kamala Harris on one side giving you a whole fucking list of shit that she's going to do for you and make your life better, and then you have Trump on the other side who can't even come out with a normal sounding sentence, and you still vote for that guy, and you are a farmer, you are either racist or sexist or both. And they're only crying now because now they are being treated exactly how they voted for other people to be treated. Got that? They are being treated how they voted for other minorities, people of color, everybody else, poor people, sick people. That's how they voted for other people to be treated. And now they're the ones being treated that way by losing their livelihood, their homes, their income, their farms. So do not feel sorry for them. This is exactly what they had coming. Quick follow-up as to why exactly would Trump be doing this to farmers anyways? And I'm guessing 99% chance it's because he wants to bankrupt farms so his corporate buddies can come in and do a land grab. Basically what you have been seeing the last few years, major companies buying up a bunch of rental houses and jacking up the price of rents, and it's all going to corporations. It's probably something similar to let these farms go to foreclosure and his corporate buddies be able to come in, swoop them up, and now you've got bigger companies involved in more of our day-to-day food.
I don't care. I don't fucking care. All these videos on this app about how in 3 weeks the grocery stores are going to be empty, good. Fucking let that fucking play out. Okay? Take some precautions, but let that shit play out. Farmers on this app boo-hooing because they're losing their farms, fuck all the way off. What did you think was going to happen? Joe Biden bailed you out, then you turned around and voted for Trump. So yeah, I'm glad that all your government grants and bailouts and farmer welfare got taken away from you. And I hope to God a Democrat buys your land and is profitable. Truckers. Oh my God, the amount of truckers on my algorithm right now boo-hooing that they don't have any loads, which by the way, at first is kind of funny. But what? 90% of you voted for this. What the fuck did you think was going to happen when he tariffed the whole world and there was going to be no product to move around the country? Hello? Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm scared to death of the fucking shit storm that we are all about to fucking walk through. And the longevity of those empty shelves fucking keeps me up at night. But the only thing that keeps me going is that any day.
I'm a 6th-generation farmer from Newport, Arkansas. I grew up farming next to my parents, who are here today. I have, in their retirement for the past 10 years, been the primary operator of our farm, which is 2,000 acres of soybeans, corn, rice, and wheat. But what I should say today is that I used to be a 6th-generation farmer. In February, we made the decision to close our farm. We joined many other farming families making this heartbreaking choice to avoid significant financial strain, financial hardship before it was too late. Many more families like mine will make similarly hard choices this month, in the next few weeks. The ag economy is the worst it has been since the farm crisis of 1980, when the US lost 1 in every 4 farms. And that's because the price we're paying for the crop we produce is so low, and the cost to produce that crop is so high that not a single commodity crop in Arkansas is profitable for farmers. Because agriculture is such an important economic driver in the United States, and because food production is a national security issue, the government steps in tough times to help farmers. Yesterday, I watched strangers pull away my tillage equipment. They drove my tractors away, my combines. They loaded my power units and my fuel tanks onto trailers. Today, as I stand here, people are picking up the very last pieces of 6 generations of farming. And the people that we elected to protect us are eating in a ballroom with $7,000 a plate. I don't care whether you have an R or a D next to your name. I have no use for politicians that play dress up in cowboy boots and say they care about farmers and then do nothing in our hour of need. I don't necessarily have an ask for the people here, but I think y'all should know what's happening in farm country in Arkansas. Open out! And I think
Since the election, everyone has reminded me that I thought Kamala Harris was going to win. Everyone has reminded me that she didn't win and Donald Trump won. I've seen it over and over and over again. But what I also said was if Donald Trump did win, it would be a disaster for farmers and oil workers, because the last time Donald Trump was president, it was a disaster for farmers and oil workers. Now, he really hasn't gotten to oil workers yet. But hey, farmers, how you doing? Yeah, you see, the last time Donald Trump was president, over 100,000 farms went belly up in America. So here he runs for president again. And what do you farmers do? Yeah, you vote for him again. And I don't understand why, but it's one of those cases where you effed around and now you're going to find out again, because apparently he didn't do enough damage the first time. You wanted to see it a second time. So here we are.
Caleb Ragland is the president of the American Soybean Association, and he just wrote an op-ed for a right-wing publication, and he said in there, quote, "Like many of my fellow farmers, I voted for President Donald Trump in the past 3 elections. The president won me over with his commitment to business-friendly tax cuts, as well as his track record of reducing regulation and cutting government spending. I am one of 500,000 soybean farmers in America who feels the pain. As a businessman, President Trump must know how urgent this is." Does he? Is he? Anyway, he goes on to say the current trade war with China is a gamble with American livelihoods, especially for farmers, those of us who grew up with soil and sweat, who can't imagine doing anything else. Mr. President, I hope you hear our plea. Please make a deal with China now. Yeah, so he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. There is no deal to be had. As of now, the majority of Trump's base is sticking with him on these tariffs. But it's gonna catch up with them. They're gonna realize sooner or later there are no deals. He is not the deal maker. He screwed up. And no, China is not begging and pleading and knocking on our door.
I wanted to start off by saying I did vote for Donald Trump. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. I'm not the only one this is affecting. So there are other farmers in the comments saying that they're in the same boat that I'm in because they signed these contracts, and the contracts, even like, so whenever I looked into the contract, I made sure that that funding was set aside. It wasn't funding that, oh, we hope it's there whenever it's done. I made sure that that funding was set aside so that way before I made these business decisions, I knew that funding was there per contract. So they're backing out on the contract because they don't have the funding. They can't release the funds.
Yeah, y'all, this dude right here, he's been all over TikTok whining for the last several months about losing his farm, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because of Donald Trump's executive orders. But I want y'all to remember something, because in my family, on both my mother and father's side, land was lost, okay, due to farming. And let me tell you something. Many of our forefathers that were lynched and had their land stolen, to this very day, these white farmers got that stolen land and still actively, growing crops on land that they stole from black farmers, especially during Reconstruction. That's why they're telling you, oh, I've had this land, this farm in my family for 6 generations, for 5 generations, and a lot of that land is stolen. Damn near all of it is stolen. And there were a lot more black farmers back then. But due to, things like eminent domain and this government, that's why a lot of people were saying, when reparations was really the big chatter online, people are saying, no, this government have to give reparations because they were full participants in racism. They were full participants in stealing land from our people for centuries, y'all. This has gone on for centuries, not just farmland, even to this very day. Look at what they do to our elders that had family land since the Civil War, and they're still trying to take that land away from them through eminent domain. And as usual, these developers, they can't find land nowhere except for where melanated people live. That's the only place they can find land that they want to build on. But never ever forget, many of our forefathers that were lynched were farmers, were businessmen. And these white farmers, They got that land and had it in their land for many generations. See, that's the part they don't tell you. All of the land they stole from the indigenous people is what is being farmed on to this very day. So, y'all, you can see a lot of them are out here whining and whining about what Donald Trump is doing to them. I just don't feel bad for them. I don't care. I don't care about their whining because our people have been going through it forever now and they never cared. So now that Donald Trump, and see, you're getting screwed over by a man that looks just like you. Okay, you're being screwed over by a man that looks just like you. And you can tell Donald Trump don't care. Not at one point did he say, you know what, I'm not going to put this tariff in place because of all the devastation it can cause towards the farmer. Not once. Donald Trump don't care. And he told you, he stood on the stage during the time he was running and campaigning. He said, I don't care about you. I just care about your vote. That's what he said. And you know what they did? They laughed. They laughed. I guess they didn't think it was serious. Now look at, for example, Nebraska. Almost every single farmer, white farmer in Nebraska, voted for Donald Trump. And every single one lost their undocumented workers. Every last one of them left because they were afraid if they went to work, ICE would raid the farms. So that's why Nebraska really don't have a lot of time now. They're about to go bankrupt, but they did this to themselves. They were the ones that went in there and voted. And you know, Donald Trump said he was going to get rid of these illegals in the country. And y'all knew the illegals worked for you. And y'all proudly went in there and voted for Donald Trump. Now you're screaming and hollering that you're about to lose everything. Pardon me if I don't feel bad for you. I don't feel bad for you. And this dude right here that you see, he was even trying to set up fundraisers so that people could help him with his farm. The hell with that. I wouldn't give this man a penny of my money. You know, what they're going through, you know, you can tell the tide has turned. All of the whining is coming from white farmers, all of it. You don't see black farmers on here. You know why? Because black farmers were not getting those contracts in the first place. They were not getting the grants in the first place. They weren't getting anything. So, and you saw what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden got in and put the same person that screwed the black farmers over, Tom Vilsack. He put him right back in there over USDA. And he got a lot of objection from the black farmers, and he did it anyway. So he didn't care. But, you know, at the end of the day, none of these presidential administrations ever cared about the black farmer. That's why they never got anything. They had to pretty much be out here fending for themselves. Less than 1% of the farmers in the U.S. are black farmers. And you see, just knowing that piece of information and the overwhelming amount of farmers are white, that right there should explain to you how racial this whole thing has been when it comes down to farming. And yes, many of these people had farms for 6 and 5 and 6 generations because these were the ones that had the plantations in their families. That's why they can go back 6 generations of their family had this farmland. Yeah, go back and research that. That farmland was once a plantation. Go back and research all of these farmlands that these people had for 6 generations in their family. Those were once plantations. It is exciting times because the tide has turned on these white farmers. They don't have an advantage anymore that they have enjoyed for hundreds of years in this country. That is now waning away from them. And you can tell by the way, because, they said they're losing their farms rapidly. Well, that once happened to the black farmer. Black farmers in this country were losing their farms rapidly. Now, look who's experiencing that now. And nobody gave them any type of life jacket to save themselves. But I want y'all to remember something. These white farmers got bailed out multiple times. Multiple times. Donald Trump bailed some of them out when he was in his first term. Joe Biden came in office and bailed out the white farmer. They had to be bailed out under Biden. They have been bailed out multiple times, which should tell you they haven't been 100% successful in running these farms up in here. They always try to give you that impression, but that's everything but true. So, y'all, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Monica Gregory, thank you so much for the super sticker. And you guys, I have the weekend sale has started today. Everything in the store is 25% off. I got things that were no longer in stock, back in stock. The Botano oil is in stock. The butter is back in stock. I got some gel, flaxseed, aloe gel. Everything's back in stock. So, and you can get whatever you want, 25% off. The sale is good from today until Tuesday. And then after Tuesday, I've been trying to put one item up for sale. I might put, for the first time, a bundle on sale. So I'm still kind of churning the idea in my head, but, take advantage of getting anything at a discount. So, y'all, I am going to conclude, and I see somebody else. Eternal Energy 1313, thank you for the super chat. Do not feel sorry for them because they did not feel sorry for us. You are absolutely right. No, I never felt sorry for these farmers, especially with them openly telling you on the video, I voted for Donald Trump and now I'm about to lose my farm. And y'all remember another thing. These farmers stole from black farmers, and now the South Afrikaners are going to take over the land these white farmers lost. Just think about that. Oh, yes, it is about to get real hostile up in here, for real. Well, the gel is for edge control, and you can get that for 25% off. Yes, y'all, the Afrikaners that are coming over are now getting the farms that the white farmers here in America lost. Yes. So, y'all, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back a little later with another topic. Shalom, family.